Welcome to Algrano Virtual Trip Series. Today we're going to take you to the beautiful Colombia, where we will visit two coffee families, walk through the fields, and get a chance to see how the coffee is processed. First, we will go to La Pradera, where we'll meet Oscar and his adorable family, and he will show us around his farm and processing facilities. And then we will move on to Cofinet, we will meet Felipe, enjoy the beautiful views from his window, and walk around his farm. If you're keen to try the coffees of today's guides or any other Colombian coffees, just go to algrano.com/coffees, search for La Pradera Cofinet or Colombia in general, and you will see quite a few lots on offer with free samples. Sign up for free if you don't have an account yet and submit a sample request, and we'll ship the samples to you in a couple of days. And now, fasten your seatbelt, get ready for takeoff, and enjoy.
Hey Liliana, ¿cómo estás?
Buenos días, Luisa, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias. Liliana, yo tuve un problemita que tenía el link incorrecto con Oscar. Entonces nosotros estábamos haciendo un test, pero el link no era el link correcto.
Okay.
So I'm just telling Liliana that Oscar from Hacienda Cafetalera La Pradera is still joining because we were running a test, but we were in a different link. So I just sent him the link. He has his tablet there in hand, so he can join us. And he should be here very soon. But in the meantime, I guess we can talk a little bit with Liliana. So Liliana is Oscar's right arm, I'd say, in everything commerce, sales, talking to roasters. She's always on the farm. She's always traveling around Central America, so she has a lot of experience as well. How are you doing, Liliana?
Doing very well. I'm very excited to be here. I really wish we could be hosting you guys at La Pradera. That would be awesome if we could, be really receiving you and having this chat together at the farm. But I hope that in the future we will be able to do this. But in the meantime, this is great to be able to get together and talk about coffee and La Pradera and the things that, we are passionate about.
Where are you today, Liliana?
Well, I'm still in Mexico. I'm still in Mexico, but I'm heading back to Honduras next week. I am originally from Honduras, but I met Oscar and La Pradera. It was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, when I was working for an importer, that was one of his clients in the U.S. And I was really taken aback the first time I arrived at La Pradera. It's a very unique operation. It's the sense of family of a community, of a small community, is very unique. And I really admire Oscar and Hector and all of the team's vision for innovation and for constant, curiosity and wanting to do things better. And so later on, we had the opportunity to start working together, and that's how I've been, working with La Pradera now for the past 4 years.
Can you tell everyone a little bit about Oscar and about the work that he does? I was hoping that he could start introducing himself, but I think he's having a little bit of trouble joining.
Yes.
So whilst he's not here, I guess you're the one that has all the information.
Yeah, so I'm very happy to tell you a little bit more about La Pradera. So and Oscar. So La Pradera is an operation that is located in the north of Colombia, in the department of Santander. It's very interesting because even though Santander may not be one of the most known regions of Colombian coffee, tradition says that coffee entered into Colombia through Santander. So there is a lot of history and of linkages with coffee in Santander. And Oscar comes, he's a third generation coffee farmer in this area of Santander and his family. But it's very interesting because he's a young guy, young like us, well, like me, I think like 40 something. So not super millennials, but still young, right? And
borderline there.
Yeah, borderline, not that hard. but anyways, he had to work a lot with his family, especially his father, convincing him to make some changes in the ways that they were approaching coffee farming. Because he had the opportunity, along with his brother, from an early age to start technical studies in Colombia's foundations for coffee studies, and also the CENI Café, which is Colombia's Center for Coffee Research. And so this gave him a lot of elements of curiosity and of further research. So Oscar has been dealing a lot with varietals. He has been part of the process of CENI Café, of creating new varietals in Colombia. And also, he was a pioneer in organic agriculture. So he had to, after, he was learning about green production and sustainable production, and he has to go back to his father and tell him, we want to transform these farms and we want to make this organic farming. And his dad is like, what? You're crazy? Because I think Oscar is here.
Yeah, we have Felipe from Cofinet here as well. So in this little trip, we're gonna go first to Hacienda Cafetalera La Pradera in Santander, and then we go to Armenian Quindio, where Felipe is based. So just saying hello there, Felipe. Oscar, can you hear? ¿Puedes escucharnos?
Perfectamente, sí. Hola, ¿cómo están? Buenos días.
Buenos días. Pero Oscar, no puedo verte.
¿Puedes encender la cámara, Oscar?
Sí, es que estoy conectándome la tablet para el recorrido.
Ajá. Y tal vez por ahí te sale la opción de la cámara.
¿Y qué se
Hello. Hola, Oscar, ¿cómo estás?
Y no sé qué pasó.
Okay, so in the meantime, he finishes getting on back. I will just tell you really quick, finish the story. So he has to convince his dad to transform the farms from conventional production, which, in the conventional way of thinking was, it has higher productivity and, requires not so much care and so much investment into the production. But finally, Oscar, after much, kind of going back and forth with his dad, he kind of gets this vote of trust from his father. And they go ahead and transform and start conversion into organic agriculture. And it's very interesting. I hope you guys can all join us someday physically in the farm. But you will, when you get there, you will not believe that those farms were in the past, maybe 40 years ago, literally they were prairies. That's what La Pradera means, is a prairie. And these lands were prairies. There were no trees, just grasslands for livestock. And over this 40-year period, we have transformed this coffee land into a beautiful canopy of different levels of trees. We have, and Oscar is really committed to organic and sustainable farming. We have also, chickens in the farms to be able to make our own fertilizer for the farms. And so, yeah, it's really something very interesting to see, and how slowly this became a pilot. And now other farms in the region have also transformed into shade-grown coffee. And some of them are also making the transition into organic agriculture.
And a lot of people use chicken manure in Santander, isn't it? It's like the biggest organic fertilizer that everyone uses.
That is right. that is right. Yeah, and also, we are also using in Santander, we also have cabros, like goats, and and this one is also used, and it's very interesting because it kind of also helps to kind of stay away other plagues and things that will attack sometimes the coffee. So it's also an important part of the fertilizer.
Liliana, I think I'm going to try calling Oscar, seeing if everything's okay. But one thing that I think it's very interesting is there's a lot of new aspects of production in Colombia this year because of the pandemic, because of COVID, because of the internal price dynamics. So price has been really high internally in Colombia. So there's a lot of things regarding labor shortages in different parts of the country. So as I try to help Oscar here to see if he
Yes,
can join, could you just give everyone kind of like an overview of what's going on in Colombia?
yes, sure. So, so, so let me tell you a little bit about what our experience was this year with this past year with the pandemic. It as everybody as everywhere else in the world, it kind of took us by surprise, right? We were hearing about this thing that was happening in Asia, and we still hosted some origin trips early last year in January and February. We had some visitors from Korea and from other markets. But as things started getting more difficult, then in Colombia the sector is very well organized with, through the Federación Nacional de Cafeteros, and they started giving us some ideas of things we needed to do in order to ensure that we were going to be able to manage well our harvests. And because coffee is such an important sector for Colombia, it was very important to be able to have a successful harvest and to have everything under control. Fortunately, we were closing our cycle because our harvest period in north of Colombia runs from about November to late February. So we were kind of closing already, fortunately, our season, and we had the opportunity to see and observe what was going to happen in the next harvest season in southern Colombia. But Oscar and his team, with his vision, they started working in different aspects. One of them was because in La Pradera, we usually have about 75% of our labor for the harvest comes from other parts of Santander, from other parts like from Antioquia, what is called the andariegos, which are people that have a lot of experience in coffee picking, but that move from harvest region to harvest region. So during a pandemic, this is very high risk if they're moving from one place to another and they're coming in contact into our community, which has been kind of a bubble community, right? So we had to incur in a lot of investments, like making special accommodations like dorms to kind of have people quarantine once they came into the region to make sure that they were not being infected. Also, from municipality to municipality, the municipalities took different decisions, and the municipality of Aratoca took the decision of making sure that everybody had like some kind of insurance, that in case they would need medical assistance, they were sure that these expenses would be able to be covered. And this had to be assumed, or this cost had to be taken by La Pradera. So it's an additional cost of paying for a health insurance for all of these workers. I see Oscar there already.
Ah, ya tenemos Oscar, qué bueno.
Con la ayuda de Mildred.
Siempre. Hola, buenos días, Oscar.
Escucha,
¿Nos
te vemos, pero
escucha?
no escuchamos. Ay, ay, ay.
Usually we have technical problems whenever we start meetings like this. They're usually a little bit less technical problems. But let's see. Mildred is kind of like the IT of La Pradera. I'm
Yes, she's
joking.
Oscar's wife.
Yeah, she's Oscar's wife, but she's the tech person. Oh, and we have Luz as well.
Luz, and also we see
Lisbeth.
yes, his daughter also, Lisette, yes.
Lisette.
So just while Oscar finishes, I'll just finish the thought real quick. So we had to pay insurance for the workers, build the accommodations. And then we had a special situation this year, which was that the harvest didn't really, you know, fully develop at the same time. It was like coming very slowly. And these workers, they are like very oriented for results, fast results, and we are very committed to the quality. So it's like the red ripe cherries only, and this would make that, you know, their weekly pick was not as large as it usually is. So a lot of them just said, you know what, we're leaving because this is not efficient for us. It's too slow, and we don't want to keep the rules of not mixing with other groups and whatever. It kind of rebels a bit. So they ended up leaving. And so we were discussing with you a couple of weeks ago, this was a lot of additional costs into preparing for this harvest. And then we get this kind of reaction from some of the workers. It was a difficult situation. But on the other hand, it helped us because of the situation of the lockdown. A lot of the local, like, touristic spots, there's a beautiful canyon with a park. So a lot of people did not have a job last year. And so we were able to bring these people to come into our teams. Of course, we had to train them. It was an additional cost into training them. But at the end, this has resulted in a very positive exercise where we have been having more impact in the community, and things are going well. Finally, the harvest is now like all in its peak, fully developing. And but it has been a tough situation, and we know that this situation, as it has been tough for us in the farms, we know that it also has been tough in the markets, also tough for the roasters, tough for the coffee shops. So it's been a situation where we have all of us have had to adapt.
Oscar, ¿nos escucha ahora?
Ahora sí.
Ah, genial. 15 minutos después. We had planned like a pre-flight announcement. Let's do this, let's do that. Okay, let's not do that anymore because we're 15 minutes in. So everyone, I would just like to introduce you to Oscar Daza, the owner of Hacienda Cafetalera La Pradera in Santander. Oscar unfortunately doesn't speak English, or at least not very well, right, Liliana? So he'll be walking through the farm with us and talking about the different things he's working on, the new improvements he introduced to the farm in 2020, and showing us a little bit around the staff and how he does things. And then Liliana and I can jump in and help with translation. Liliana, thank you so much as well for the introduction and a bit of the harvest overview that you gave to everyone. I think there's a lot to talk about Colombia this year. Oscar, ¿cómo estás hoy? ¿Cómo está la internet? ¿Está mejor ahora?
Hola, buenos días para todos. Sí, a Dios gracias, ya se pudo corregir ahí el problemita que tenían. No, estamos muy bien.
¿Está con el computador o con el tablet?
Con tablet.
Con el tablet, genial, bueno.
Sí. No, estamos muy bien, estamos recolectando todavía café, estamos más o menos en un 75% de la cosecha y ya, gracias a Dios, todo muy bien hasta ahora.
So Oscar, solo un minutito para que yo pueda traducir. So Oscar is just saying that they're doing very well at the moment. They have pretty much 75% of the harvest has already been collected. So they're at a very healthy point right now. Puede seguir.
Bueno, entonces estamos acá en Hacienda La Pradera. Está ubicada en el kilómetro 23 vía San Gil Bucaramanga. En el departamento de Santander, en el municipio de Aratoca. Somos una empresa productora de cafés orgánicos, sostenibles, de alta calidad. Soy la tercera generación, la cual nos dedicamos desde los años 70 a producir café. Y bueno, gracias a Dios, pues ya hemos tenido la oportunidad de exportar a varios países y nuestra meta es producir uno de los cafés más sanos y más puros para el mundo.
Okay, gracias, Oscar. So Oscar was saying where they're located in the kilometer 23 of Aratoca. Did I get it right, Liliana?
Yes, yes, that's right. It's on the road that leads from Bucaramanga, which is the capital of Santander, to Bogota, which is the capital of Colombia. So
Mhm.
it's kind of in the way. Yeah.
And the farm is near the town of Aratoca, which is the closest big city would be Bucaramanga. So the closest airport, if you're visiting Oscar, would be the airport in Bucaramanga. And so La Pradera is a company or a farm that produces organic and sustainable coffees with very high quality. So Oscar is the third generation in his family producing coffee. The family started in the 70s, and they have been lucky enough to be able to export to several countries and to have very good relationships with buyers. And one of their goals is to produce the purest or the cleanest coffees that they can. Listo, Oscar, ¿puedes mostrar un poquito más?
Sí. Darle un recorrido. Entonces, empezamos acá con laboratorio. Tenemos
Lab.
las fotografías de mi hermano en persona,
That's his
este
brother,
señor, madre, mi padre.
his mom and his dad.
Acá estamos en todo el frente del cañón de Chicamocha.
And that's the canyon, the view of the canyon in the distance is called Canyon of Chicamocha. It's also a national park.
Allá en la parte donde están las nubecitas está Barichara.
So he's showing Barichara, where it's covered by clouds as well. It's a pretty famous touristic town near.
En esta otra parte pues, está toda la cordillera, ahí queda el municipio de Jordán, donde está en todo el cañón del Chicamocha.
And in this side is the mountain range where you have the Chicamocha Canyon.
Ahí existe, bueno, por ahí donde mi padre y mi abuelo trabajaron toda una vida como arrieros. Arrieros eran los llamados que transportaban la carga en ese tiempo.
See. So his father and his grandfather worked all their life as arrieros, that were the people who would transport coffee, right? Is that right, Lilian?
Goods in general.
Goods in general, okay.
Yeah, so they were kind of like merchants. So they would, yeah.
Ahí en esta otra parte están los galpones de gallinas ponederas, y sacamos parte de los abonos.
So that's where we keep the chicken and fertilizers.
La nutrición de los árboles. Acá estoy con mi esposa.
Hola.
Hola, Mildred, ¿cómo estás? That's Mildred, Oscar's wife. And that's the lab.
Hola, Mildred. ¿Y nos muestras el laboratorio, Oscar?
Sí. Y acá estamos en el laboratorio de calidad. Entonces, acá estamos con Luz.
Hola, Luz. Buenos días.
Luis, quien nos apoya. Luz nos apoya con lo de la parte de calidad.
Luz is Oscar's Q grade and does all the quality, in-house quality control, not just for La Pradera, but for all the farms in the region as well. It's a really good Q grade, a really good cuppa. Does a very good job.
Luz, ¿nos puede hablar un poquito de los procesos y
Bueno, pues básicamente estamos constantemente haciendo control de calidad a todos los cafés que van entrando.
Oscar, no podemos escuchar mucho bien a Luz.
Correcto. Ajá.
¿Sí? Sí.
Pues sí, como les decía, durante la cosecha hemos estado constantemente haciendo el control de calidad, revisando los procesos. Ya muchos cafés vienen ya estandarizados, ya se le tiene un protocolo, se le maneja la trazabilidad y hemos encontrado muy buena complejidad en esta cosecha.
So Luz is just saying that during the harvest season, they're constantly doing the quality control and checking each coffee that comes in, and they're seeing a lot of good coffees coming in this harvest. ¿Cómo están los cafés, Luz? Comenta un poquito más sobre los cafés que tienes catado.
Bueno, sí, llevamos constantemente, yo llevo ya más o menos 2 años catando los cafés de la pradera y siempre se han ido mejorando cada vez más. El lavado ya lo tenemos estandarizado, es un café muy bueno, muy buena acidez y siempre está en un buen puntaje y constantemente le hacemos bien la trazabilidad a cada lote como va llegando. Tenemos naturales también, hemos tenido muy buena complicidad, también está súper estandarizado el proceso.
Okay, so Luz is saying that she's been cupping for La Pradera for 2 years now, and that what she sees is that the quality has been constantly improving. So they're washed coffee, so they do a really good washed Castillo, and she's saying that coffee has been getting better as well. It's got very good acidity, it's got very good bodies. A coffee that has, despite being one of their exotic coffees, is a coffee that has a very good level of complexity, and they can do all the traceability of each lot that comes in as well.
Gracias, Luz.
Gracias, Luz.
Y aquí estamos, Alfredo.
Don Alfredo.
Hola, buenos días, ¿cómo están?
Yes. So this is Don Alfredo. You have to call him Don Alfredo. You can't just call him Alfredo. ¿Cómo estás, Alfredo?
Muy bien, gracias, por acá trabajando.
Y tú vas a platicar un poquito más de los procesos de café. Yo veo que tú tienes como los diferentes tipos de proceso en la mesa.
Sí, correcto. Yo llevo 6 años, para los que no me conocen, mi nombre es Alfredo Archila. Llevo 6 años aquí trabajando al lado de don Oscar, aprendiendo y analizando todo lo que son los procesos y con todo el registro para darle una mayor trazabilidad a todos ustedes.
So Alfredo has been working with Oscar for 6 years now, and he's been learning more and learning to analyze more coffees, also in an effort to improve traceability and making sure that all the qualities is as best as it can be. ¿Puedes seguir?
Sí.
Okay. Sí, llevamos un registro desde la recolección, llevamos variables como los grados BRIS, aquí unos procesos de beneficio, los tiempos de estandarización de fermentación y los tiempos de secado. Por ejemplo, aquí tenemos varios procesos los cuales nos hacen que los cafés de la pradera son diferentes. Tenemos un natural.
So he's showing what the natural coffee looks like, honey.
Procesos lavados.
Y en final tú tienes cáscara, perdón.
Tiene ahí bandejita de cáscara también que nos muestre, don Alfredo.
El nuevo componente, tenemos la cáscara, aprovechamiento de la pulpa del café.
Cáscara, unfortunately, we can't bring to Europe at the moment, but they do produce and they do lots of things with cáscara in Santander.
Yes, delicious. And actually, we are also doing different profiles with varieties like Tabi cáscara or Geisha cáscara.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. Yes.
What are you producing with cáscara at the moment?
Excuse me?
Listo.
What are you producing with cáscara at the moment?
What are we
Are you just making drinks like cáscara to drink as a tea? Or...
Well,
Que ya un poco de ruido.
And to sell to the market where we can export the cáscara.
Ah, okay.
Yes. So just for the cáscara for the tea. Yeah.
Trabajando la máquina de flotes.
Ah, sí. Es aquella no es la electrónica, ¿no? Es solo la...
Como los vehículos, los transportamos el café.
So these are the trucks.
Aquí tenemos el secado mecánico.
And that's why they do the mechanical drying bigger.
But I can kind of like describe going as a mill. Okay, so here are some of the mechanical dryers for the larger volume coffees, which are mechanical dryers that are also oriented to very slow, constant temperature drying. So it's not anything that is too sudden or too, you know, we understand that it's very important to take care of the drying process. So these are some of the mechanical drying. They are used by something we call Quindio, which comes from the parchment of coffee. So it's a way to reutilize the byproducts of the coffee process.
Mm-hmm. So like chaff, but from the parchment.
Yeah, exactly. So there he's showing us the chaff, and so that's part of like what we do with the furnaces. And it's a very interesting machine because if you're a roaster, it kind of mimics the roaster machine movement. It's very
It's very low temperatures, as you said, because in that way they stop it every night as well. It's not something that keeps on going all the time, so they have to stop the heat overnight and then start again the next day. And that way the coffee can rest overnight as well and stabilize. That way the drying is very even.
Exactly. It's very interesting because over the years, Oscar and his team have developed like the drying protocol in such a way, you know, to actually have one of the most critical points to improve quality and shelf life of coffee. And so we take care of that. But on the other hand, also, we need to take care of energy costs, of, you know, what resources. So it's kind of balancing with that, you know, of trying to maintain the best type of quality, but also being sustainable, also full operation. So we have seen the process, like you said, sometimes we start the grind, then pause for 15 hours, and then continue again.
So I just want to say to everyone as well, if you want to ask questions to Oscar during the presentation, so whilst he's walking around, you can all put it on the chat, and then we can read it to him afterwards.
Somebody is asking if the machine reduces the coffee quality, and that's exactly what I wanted to make a note that it doesn't. These are machines that are designed for specialty coffee. But we are a larger farm. You know, we export between 12 and 14 containers. So we have a nice volume of coffee, and it's all concentrated. So we cannot only depend, especially for the larger volume coffees, we cannot only depend on sun drying because it wouldn't be feasible. And so what we have done is an important investment in technology that will guarantee that the drying process is done correctly in a way that is not sudden, or, you know, that just kind of dries in the outside but keeps the humidity in the inside. No, we have developed these protocols, and perhaps you talk to one of the roasters that has bought our coffee in the past, you will, you know, they will be able to witness the very good quality of our coffee, the very good shelf life the coffee has. So, of course, we do have a lot of larger volume coffee ourselves with the processing with these machines.
Okay, I just muted Oscar just because of the noise is being impossible to listen, I guess. But he's showing this is the electronic selecting machine. That's a new addition to La Pradera. It's something that they brought in to help improve the quality of the coffee, making sure that they're only processing the really ripe cherries.
Yeah, this is actually very exciting because As I said, I think one of the qualities I most admire in Oscar is his curiosity and his wanting to develop new processes and new ways of doing. And in Colombia, there is a very good labor force that makes machines related to coffee. So actually, for example, in this case, this machine is the first one in Colombia. And there is not another machine like this one, which what we are doing here is making first a manual pre-selection by size of the cherry. So it's kind of like a screen that will divide and will help us process for our naturals and our honey processes only like the larger size cherries. And then after making this selection, the cherries will go into an optical color selector. So this is an electronic machine that will choose the best, the most, you know, they have already been very selected by the hand pickers. But then this is a further selection to even further improve the quality of the coffee. So it's been, so we are adding 2 more steps of selection now by screen size of the cherry and then by the color with an optical reader, which is the same technology that, for example, is used to select blueberries or raspberries in other industries. And now we are applying this technology also to cherries in the coffee.
And I had asked Oscar to show us the drying beds, I guess, for the more exotic coffees. And I think that's what he was showing. So that way is usually how he dries mocha varieties or whoosh whoosh, geisha, so all these exotic coffees that La Pradera also produces, they're dried in that way. So those won't go into the mechanical dryers. They'll only be dried as in the raised beds.
Correct. Yeah, there he has some naturals.
Yeah, so that's how the coffees will be stored until they are taken to dry milling.
And because of, you know, we are located in a mountain range and there are, you know, shifts in temperature at night, so we have to sometimes bring coffee at night so that it won't get some, you know, the night dew, and then in the morning we take it out again.
I'm just trying to ask Oscar to take his phone out of mute.
Mm-hmm.
Oscar, ¿nos escucha? Tu tablet está en mudo.
Ahora sí. Ligardo.
Ok, vamos a regresar al laboratorio solo para algunas preguntas y encerramos. So we're just coming back to the lab where the Wi-Fi is a bit better, a bit more stable. We can ask Oscar a few questions about the coffees and the farms, and then we can move on to Quindio. Gracias, Oscar.
Poco
Oscar.
ruido. Voy a hablar.
Sí, es solo rápido, pero es genial. Oscar, solo para nosotros enterarnos, solo quería saber un poquito más de ti, algo que es muy interesante a los tostadores, que es la cuestión de los cafés exóticos. ¿Tú puedes hablar un poquito del mocha, del whoosh whoosh y el geisha que tú produces?
Sí. Bueno, el mocha es una de las variedades más difícil de procesar en todo el aspecto, desde el cultivo hasta los procesamientos de secado y de trilla.
¿Por qué?
Bueno, esta es una variedad que en el cultivo no hay que consentirla tanto, o sea, es una planta más bien silvestre.
Uh-huh.
En la recolección el grano es bien denso, pero es muy pequeñito, ¿sí? Entonces, capacitar a los trabajadores para esto y y darle manejo a la recolección requiere sus cuidados. Y en el secado, también por lo mismo, por lo que es tan denso, es demasiado lento para secarse.
Okay, so Oscar is telling us a little bit about the Mocha, one of the exotic varieties that he produces. It's one of the standout coffees of La Pradera. I remember when I visited, he was telling me that it was a matter of passion, that coffee. So because it's very hard to grow, it's very hard to process, it's very hard to dry. So it's kind of like a semi-wild coffee, you'd say. And the cherries are very small, so you have to train the pickers in a more careful way, so they do a better job. And because the beans are too dense as well, it's harder to dry.
Y bueno, esto en el geisha, pues es una variedad que no es resistente, pero es una variedad que sí tiene mejor tamaño. Es una variedad que se ha acoplado mucho acá a la región, pues no es tan exigente a tanta humedad, o sea, se maneja bien en tiempo seco y en tiempo húmedo también. Es una variedad menos compleja para la parte de producción, pero en procesamiento sí es un poco más delicada que su recolección, su manejo tiene que ser bien exacto para que no salga un café tan diferente, ¿no?
Mm-hmm.
Entonces, esta variedad la hemos venido trabajando ya por cerca de los 7 años y logramos participar también en Taza de la Excelencia, la cual quedamos con premio presidencial en el 8º puesto. Y logramos estandarizar también un proceso con ella.
Mm-hmm. So the geisha is for Oscar is a bit of an easier variety to grow compared to the mocha. The bean has a good size, and the trees are well adapted to the region, so they can grow well even if there's not a lot of humidity, so not a lot of rain, or even if there's a lack of humidity, so there's a bit more of a dry weather. So it's less complex in that way, but the processing is quite delicate, and the picking and selection has to be very precise. Otherwise, you end up not with the results that you want. So they've been growing geisha for 7 years now, and they won awards with this coffee, including the Cup of Excellence in Santander. Y el Wush Wush, sí. Oscar.
El Gus Gus también es una variedad también similar al mocha. Es una variedad que en los primeros 3, pero este es diferente, pues el tamaño es similar al geisha, pero es una variedad que hasta que el árbol no se fortalece bien, no da sus atributos a lo que refleja la variedad. O sea, es un café un poco con más de cuerpo que el geisha, pues en su perfil. Y en su producción es un poco menos productiva que el geisha.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Wush Wush is similar to the mocha.
El Gus Gus, sí. Se demora cultivo en los 6, 7 años que lo tenemos acá, hasta hace 2 años que se ha logrado
okay.
Que salga un perfil diferente.
Okay, so in the 7 years that he's been growing Wush Wush, only 2 years that he was able to harvest this variety. But it's got a very interesting profile, and it's got a little bit more body than geisha. So I'm going to wrap up with Oscar here, so we can move to Felipe. Oscar, yo tengo que encerrar contigo porque estamos pasados de tiempo un poco. Pero muchísimas gracias por caminar por la finca y por mostrarnos todo el trabajo que tú haces. Muchas gracias. Y muchas gracias, Liliana, también.
Gracias.
Uh-huh. Ok, Oscar, si quieres puede quedarse aquí como para continuar como participando, pero yo voy a pasar a Felipe ahora, ¿ok? Un abrazo.
Ok.
Oscar.
Sí, saludos, saludos a Felipe también.
Gracias.
Y- Hey, Felipe.
Hola Luisa, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, gracias.
Hola
Felipe.
Oscar, hola Liliana, ¿cómo están?
Hola,
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 bien.
gusto.
¿Cómo les va? Me alegra saludarlos.
Gracias.
So, Felipe, I'm going to ask you to speak English since you can, because it's easier for the roasters to understand.
Of course, we can do English.
Okay, perfect. Let me just see if I can pin your video here, so it's easier for people to see you. And so, okay, so Felipe is based in Armenia, in Quindio, and he is part of a exporting company called Cofinet in Colombia, and they export coffees from all the producers, and they also have coffees from their own farm. So they do a lot of special processing and a lot of different varieties in their own farm as well. Felipe, can you talk a little bit more about yourself, introduce the farm and the work that you do, please?
Of course, Luisa. Well, hello everyone. My name is Felipe. I'm actually a fourth-generation coffee grower from Quindio. Quindio is located in the south center part of Colombia, I would say, and our closest city is called Armenia. Where I'm right now is called La Pradera as well. Same name as Oscar Farm, but it's totally different. In Colombia, we just copy each other names all the time. Like you can find El Mirador, Buena Vista, like same names all over the country. We just try to pick the best names, I believe. Let me tell you guys a little bit about Cofinet. Well, Cofinet started 5 years ago. My family has been always growing coffee, but my parents pushed my brother and myself to do something else, because growing coffee in Colombia hasn't been a very profitable business for the last 15 years. So my brother and myself both became engineers and ended up doing a master's degree in Australia. And while we were living in Australia, we realized the potential specialty coffee had, and how and we felt actually bad because we didn't have the chance to cup very nice Colombian coffees in Australia. So we identified there was a good space for Colombian coffee. At that time, I decided to move back to Colombia, and we started improving our farm quality, and we started working with the neighbors as well, and started bringing in some very nice coffees into Australia. After that, we were already hooked by coffee, so we wanted to plan different stuff like Oscar did as well. These days, we grow over 15 varietals in our family farms and our own farm as well. And we're working with over 150 growers from all over the country. So we're big fans of innovation. We love natural processed coffees. We love extended fermentation, carbonic maceration. These days, we're even freezing cherries before we put them to dry. So for us, it's all about finding new flavors. Sorry?
Tell us about freezing cherries.
Yes, no, we've always wanted to bring temperature down while fermenting. So we use temperature control rooms. But once we decided we wanted to freeze cherries to see what happened. And it was quite surprising because the profile was very different to any other fermentation we tried before.
And what was it like? What do you think it does to the coffee?
I believe it highlights the body and highlights the floral notes of the coffee as well.
Interesting.
So it's very unique, although it's very expensive to freeze the cherries though. But yeah, it's good fun, and the cup profile is very distinguished.
So Felipe has a brother called Carlos, and Carlos is still in Australia, so he's still working working to import coffees in Australia for Cofinet. I think if you go to the platform, it might be that you might talk to Carlos first if you send them a message. But they're all always in touch, and Felipe has access as well. So if you want to send him questions, you can. Felipe, can you show us around a bit?
Of course. I was just gonna start here from my father's main room at the farm. I just want to share with you guys the view, which is amazing. So what you guys can see over there are elbas, which we call in Colombia, that are concrete patios with movable roofs. So when the rain comes in, we're able to close them and protect the coffee from getting wet. As well as when we have very sunny days, we rather close the roof so that the temperature doesn't go anywhere above 40 degrees. And then we have a greenhouse as well, and sorting beds where the coffee is hand sorted. Let's move down there for you guys to have a look.
What are you processing at the moment? Because
yes, we're actually hand sorting. Is right here is, I would say, is 90% of the 90% of the harvest is finished, but we still have some cherries to process. Let me show you a bit. The mountains are a bit far, but most of the coffee that we grow in the mountains and that growers that we represent, they're brought down here to La Pradera for us to process.
And harvest for you starts, will really start around March then?
So yeah, I would say all year round.
Okay.
But the main harvest for our own farm, it starts in April and it goes all the way to July. Guys, here you can see a bit of coffee that was actually brought in from the patios. Every time we dry naturals, we bring them in for them to rest in the shadow for a few hours, and then they're stored in grain pro bags.
And are they brought in every day? So those are coffees that were brought in today? Felipe?
No, they finish off the dry, but bags, then the humidity will keep leaving the beans, and it will we're very used to only mill wash coffees in Colombia, so milling naturals is a hard task.
Felipe, I couldn't understand what you said. Sorry, because the connection is not very good there anymore.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
I can.
I was just saying that if we don't leave the naturals to rest before we put the coffee inside grain pro bags, then it will be very hard to mill the coffee, because we're used to mill only wash coffees in Colombia, and when you want to mill a natural with a very wet cascara, it just becomes the hardest task you can get in Colombia.
How dry does it have to be? What's the percentage?
For the green, we aim the green to be in between 10 and 10.5%. We believe at that moisture level, coffee lasts longer and tastes better as well.
In your farm, is it around the processing station? So is it very close to where you are?
It's actually right here.
Okay.
So in here, we hand sort every cherry that comes in. Everything is manually hand sorted. So these are actually tabby cherries that were picked yesterday. And we try to remove all unripe and overripe cherries. After we finish this process, then we take the coffee it depends what we want to do with the coffee. If we want to ferment longer for natural, we can do it. If we want to pulp the coffee and then ferment with the pulp coffee, we can do it as well. Here we have some raised beds as well. Unfortunately, these are all empty because last coffee that was drying here finished off the drying yesterday. But the idea of these raised beds and these greenhouse is to keep the air flowing. We have a few ventilators around for the air to keep moving and for it not to become too warm. We aim temperature to be below 40 degrees. and we also have a bit of a artificial, well, shadow at the top, so that we don't get very strong like heat as well. And here we've got natural coffee drying in the concrete patios as well.
I'm just going to remind everyone that if you want to ask questions, this is a good time, because then at the end we can read them as we receive them to Felipe. I have a question though. Felipe, Tabi is a
Please.
variety that I didn't know before I went to Colombia. And it was Oscar who introduced me to it actually. And I found it very impressive because he had a really good Tabi. And you guys do Tabi as well. Can you tell me a little bit more about this variety? Because I think a lot of people don't know it yet. And it's something that's getting more popular with producers.
Of course. Tabi is one of them. And the reason for it is that it was not a varietal introduced from some other country. It was actually developed here by the FNC. And the idea behind developing this varietal was for the FNC to be able to provide growers with a high quality profile varietal that will also be resistant to leaf rust. So since the beginning of Senicafe, they actually focus on avoiding leaf rust, and in that sense, people started complaining because they said like Colombia Cup profile was much better before, when we only had Típicas and Bourbons, of course, but at the same time production was way lower, and we struggle heaps with the leaf rust. So these days we have the option to plant Tabi, which is a hybrid. Tabi is a hybrid in between Típica, Bourbon, and Timor hybrid. So it's got 1/6 of Robusta, but also 4/6 of Bourbon and Típica. So it is floral, fruity, and crazy delicate.
But does
if processed, it can taste almost as good as a geisha.
Does he yield as well as a Caturra or a Castillo, for example?
I wouldn't, like, it depends on the region. I've seen in some regions of Colombia, such as Santander, that the yield is very high. But I wouldn't say it yields as good as Castillo and Caturra. I would say you get about 80% of the production.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason of that is not because of the yield, because if you compare a Tabi tree to a Caturra tree, the Tabi actually produces way more, but it also occupies much more space.
Okay.
And trees grow taller faster as well.
But you have to keep them more distance from each other as well.
Yes. So in that sense, in our experience, it produces around 80% of what Castillo and Caturra produce. Like if you were to compare it in a determined amount of land.
Okay. And what do you have there in front of you?
Let me check. Actually, here we have a 200 hours carbonic maceration Castillo right here.
200 hours, it's insane.
Yes. We get a lot of cacao nips in the taste of the fall. And right here, we have a tartaric acid, honey, pink bourbon, anaerobic.
Okay, you have to explain to me what that is, because you're mixing too many things there.
I'm sorry. No, we just always trying to innovate by fermenting differently and even adding different natural acids to the fermentation. In this case, we're adding tartaric acid to an anaerobic fermentation. So it's a honey processed pink bourbon fermented with tartaric acid.
So what do? Do you add acids to the fermentation barrel?
Yes, in this case we do, yes.
And it's kind of like a low percentage, you have to dilute it. How does it work?
Yeah, no, like we've actually are still in the process of trial and error. Right now we're I don't know which amount we're using right here, but we've been testing with different concentrations for the last month, and it's been working out really well.
But have you cupped it already?
Yes, we've cupped a few batches already.
Okay, was it
We
tasting like?
like the fruity notes are way, much more delicate,
Okay.
and we believe we're achieving a higher sweetness level as well.
Okay, but it's,
So
it's
it's
still
working
not,
out really well.
but it's not quite balanced as you want yet. That's why you're keeping to you're still trialing it.
Actually, we're very happy with the results so far, but we always want to take things to their best. So we're still testing new, like different concentrations to see which result is actually better. We're very happy with the outcomes already, and coffee is already selling, but we always try to keep improving.
Mm-hmm. Felipe, what I want you to talk to a little to people about as well is about the internship program that you run at the farm. So it's really cool to bring both Oscar and you here, because Oscar has a really interesting work that he does with the Santander Coffee Cluster as a group of entrepreneurs that come together to push the name of the region, to try to promote the region more. But you guys as well, you have a very interesting internship program that you bring in you bring growers in from other parts of the country, and you teach them how to process, or how to have better processing practices, right?
Yes, that's actually something that keeps us very excited every year. So the idea of what we do here at La Pradera is to design protocols that can be replied anywhere in Colombia. So we try to keep things as simple as possible. We avoid telling growers to invest in expensive infrastructure, because we believe that anybody producing coffee, just with the willingness of improving and with hard work, they can just produce an 87 point coffee or an 88. We don't believe you need to grow coffee at the top of the world to produce a high scoring cup. So we bring them here to La Pradera, and we share with them uh, the way we process coffee. So basically, in Colombia, we're only used to process washed coffees. So when growers come here, they get to experience how they can process a natural coffee or a honey coffee, while reducing the risk of defect.
And we talked about this before, but for you, what's the main thing that you think they learn? Because what's the main thing that you think they're not doing yet in general, and that they
I
start?
think I think it helps them a lot to take the risk, to 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 take that extra step, and they're able to experience how you can do it. Like, as soon as they come in, they start seeing what we do. They say, "Whoa, this is something I can definitely do at my farm if I have the right space, of course."
Mm-hmm.
So that actually gives them the chance to go to take the risk and do the first experiment, or try their first naturals. And we believe we're making an impact in the region, as these days we're working with 40 growers in Quindio only, that are already producing more than 60% of their production as honey or natural.
Mm-hmm. And that's really good. Uh, Felipe, we have a question here from one of
Of
the
course.
roasters. He's just two questions actually. One, he's asking, what is the chemical that you're using for your Algaro coffee? And the other one is, if you can explain in more detail, what's the difference, how you process honeys and naturals, what's the difference between them?
Well, it's not actually a chemical. It's acid that is extracted from pineapple.
Ah, okay. Mm-hmm.
And what was the other question?
What's the difference of the honeys and the naturals that you do? So how do you process each of these coffees?
Well, actually, I can go quite deep in that, because we have developed 12 different fermentation protocols. So for us, it's more about just choosing which fermentation we're going to use. But in the internship program, we actually start off by by the EF2 process, which involves fermenting the coffee inside grain pro bags for 48 hours. For in the case of naturals, let me show you. We will hand sort the coffee, as they're doing it right there first, and flow the cherries. After that, we will put the coffee inside an anaerobic environment, inside either grain pro bags or plastic tanks. and then after 48 hours, we will just dry the coffee if it's a natural.
Mm.
In the case of honeys, we will do the same, but we will pulp the coffee before we put it to dry.
And how do you pulp it? Is it like a penagos as well, or?
Actually, for the internship program, we have a very small pulper that I will show you guys right now. The idea of the internship program is to have everything very simple and very modular, so growers can learn how to do everything. In the internship program right here, this is a Gallo. So it's a small pulper, and everything is done in plastic bins. So we keep everything as clean as possible. We actually have coffee fermenting right here in Grain Provax.
Ah, so they're sitting there for 48 hours, or that's already
48 hours, yes.
Oh, okay.
So this was hand sorted and it's resting there for 48 hours, and then it's going to be left to dry.
Okay.
Let me see if I can take you guys somewhere else as well for you to see the mechanical dryers as well. So we actually have here silos and guardiolas as well, which are mechanical dryers. The guardiolas are mechanical cylinders that are actually our favorite drying method because they dry the coffee very even. So here, let me see if you can see. So these are one guardiola and the other guardiola. And the fuel we use for them is the parchment as well. And this is a silo. There's actually coffee in the inside. Let's go have a look.
Yeah, Felipe, I just think it's starting.
Are you guys still hearing me well?
A little less, because I think you're getting further and further from the.
Sorry, I believe something happened with the speaker. Hello?
Hello, we're here.
Sorry.
Can you hear us?
Just lost the speaker. Reason.
Okay, that's another technical problem. Felipe?
Sorry, I can't get the speaker back on.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear, but very, very, very low. I can't get the speaker on. Can you?
Yeah.
Let me see if I. Hello.
I can hear you. Loud and clear.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Luisa.
No worries. I have just one last question from a roaster, and I would like to ask you that before we finish.
Of course.
He's just asking, with the coffees like the tartaric acid fermented honey, for example, or like more these exotic coffees, I guess. What would you advise roasters in terms of how they can approach roasting the coffee? Because like, what's the result in terms of density of the bean, or how porous it is, and how should you apply heat to it?
I believe the way we do it is we just do trial and error. In the sense of naturals, in our experience, Colombian naturals burn much faster than the rest. And the reason for that is that the relative humidity here is very high. So by the time the coffee is drying, it absorbs much more sugars than in any other country. So for that reason, you gotta be very gentle after the first crack.
Okay. And I suppose gentle in the beginning as well. You won't want to give that coffee too much heat straight away. More let it develop slowly.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, Felipe, I think with all the technical problems we're having as well, we should be heading to the end. I don't know. Can you put your camera back on just so people can see you and you can say goodbye?
Hey, thank you very much.
Okay, so I think Felipe's camera is not going to come back. But I just wanted to tell everyone before we finish as well that both Oscar and Cofinet, so both La Pradera and Cofinet, they have coffees available on the platform at the moment. We just received the samples from La Pradera. We're very excited. They're being cupped on Monday. And with Cofinet, we already have some coffees in, and they're also drinking very well. And they're really good quality coffees. And you can already ask for samples, try it out, see what you think of the coffees. They've got washed coffees, more standard coffees, more exotic coffees. The whoosh and the geisha that Oscar was talking about, they're available. The tabi that Felipe was talking about, available as well. So you've got a lot of option in terms of the coffees that you can try out. It's just going to the platform and looking for their profiles, and you can see all the coffee lots. And very nice cupping lab there.
Thank you. Sorry, I forgot to show you the cupping lab. Here we have also roasted coffee for the friends that have visited us before.
Ah, nice. I think that's kind of like a wall of fame that every coffee producer has.
Yes, actually makes us really proud of what we do when we're able to get the roasted coffee back to Colombia and drink it. So here we have a few roasters as well. And
nice.
this is Anna, who's in charge of the processing. She actually leads the internship program as well.
Nice. Felipe, thank you so much for showing us around, showing a bit how you do coffees and showing us the farm. That was very insightful and very nice. I hope I can visit soon, and I hope the roasters working here can visit you as well. And I also want to thank Liliana for joining us and helping with the translation and helping talking about La Pradera. En Oscar as well. Oscar, no sé si estás con nosotros, pero solo quería agradecerte antes de darnos adiós.
Estoy acá, Luisa.
Oscar, muchas gracias por mostrarnos la finca y por caminar un poco y por explicar cómo trabajas. Fue un gusto.
Gracias, igual para mí.
Okay. So, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
For the roasters as well, for people that haven't been able to watch, that wanted to watch, or people that want to see something else later, this will be available as a recording in the Algrano website in the coming days. And we'll also share an email with everyone with the links to La Pradera and Cofinet's profile, so you can check a little bit more information about them and see the lots available. And if you have any questions, there's also you're also able to get in touch with them via the platform. It doesn't matter if you don't speak Spanish. You just have to, the platform will translate, Liliana will translate. So it's all good. Speak English, speak Spanish, the language that you want. And you can communicate with them straight through the platform. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Algrano, for organizing this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Luisa. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Liliana.
Bye. Bye, Felipe. Bye, Oscar. Thank you. Chao.
Chao, Oscar. Que te vaya bien.
Chao.